Hello everyone and welcome back to Football Manager 2020 and a new experiment today where we're taking a look at what would happen if every major player in the Premier League was released. So essentially no team left in the Premier League has a player in their first team squad. If we start with Arsenal, nobody there. Villa, Brighton, doesn't matter what team you look at, all of their senior playing squads are empty. It doesn't just end there. It's not just the senior teams that are empty. If we look at the under-23s, what I've done is anybody with a value greater than £1 million has been released from the youth teams as well. Because obviously teams like City, Chelsea, they have a huge stacked under-23s and loan system. I mean, even now, Chelsea, about 10 players on loan. I've just got rid of anybody over $1 million. It should completely level the playing field in terms of players in the club. The one team that are really going to struggle with this, I imagine, are Chelsea, who are under transfer embargo. They are not going to be able to replace this team, and it's going to be really interesting to see what they do. Now, when you're under embargo, I think you can sign people on a free transfer, if I remember correctly. So they might be able to pick a few players up. It may not be as bad as we think it might be, but it is going to be interesting. But none of these teams have anybody worth over £1 million in them. So it is going to be very interesting what happens as a result of this. Now, if you're looking forward to this experiment, do drop a like down below. If you're new to the channel, please do subscribe. Only 1 in 6 people are actually subscribed who watch these videos, so do just hit that button and help the channel grow for more experiments like this. And if you have an idea for an experiment, also just let me know in the comment. If it's just something you'd like to see, put it down there. It might be the next experiment series. But the idea for this one is today we are just going to go 1 year ahead because this is essentially a transfer experiment in the first instance. We're going to see what impact it has on the league table in the first season, what players move to which clubs. So we'll just look at the major players. We'll look at each of the Premier League signings in. And then in the future, we'll see the long-term impact on the league. So next part, we'll probably go about 4 or 5 years ahead. And then the time after that, we'll probably go 20, 30 years ahead just to see what impact this experiment has. Now, the managers are still there. You can see the key player for Manchester United is now Ethan Laird. What's his history? Up through the academy. The teams with good academies might do quite well out of this, but we are going to have a look in just a moment. So we're going to go 1 year ahead now. We'll start out by maybe looking at the transfer activity, and then we will look at the league table. Well, we are now 1 year ahead, and rather than show you the transfers first, I thought I'd show you this very interesting league table first, just because at the top, when we look at the clubs, it has the league position anyway. We may as well take a look at this table first. And as you can see, Manchester City have done the unbeaten season. Despite having all their players released, their enormous wage budget and financial resources means they can bring in whoever they like. And they've done just that. 36 wins, 2 draws, 87 positive goal difference, and 110 points. The ultimate invincible team the Premier League has seen. Now in second place is actually Leicester, who've managed to take second spot. They still lost 7 games. But 87 points with 7 defeats is phenomenal. It's the sheer number of victories that they picked up. Spurs, 75 points, a bit more middle of the road. That's near where Leicester won their title with, which just goes to show how well Leicester did do getting 87 points. And then in fourth place, we've got Crystal Palace. How have they ended up in fourth place? They don't even have the financial resource to do that. So it's going to be interesting to see who they've brought in. You can see for Bournemouth, they've taken 5th, Burnley of all teams in 6th, and then we get to Liverpool. Only lost 5 games this year, the second least amount of defeats. But this is like Liverpool that season before Brendan Rodgers took them to second place, when they ended up with a huge number of draws. 18 draws in one season. That's almost 1 in 2 games ending in a draw, only 15 wins. Newcastle sneak 8th. Arsenal and United both down in mid-table, not too inaccurate to the way things are at the moment. And then as we go further down, it gets even more interesting. Chelsea finishing in 19th position, only 3 victories all year, 13 draws. Better than Sheffield United though, 1 win from 38 games, 11 points in total. Watford 10 points off Southampton and safety, an abysmal points total for the teams that went down. But the great thing is the players at the top of the rankings here. You can see Connolly for Burnley with 22 goals is the Premier League top scorer. Currently at West Brom, he's just left Burnley for £25 million, signed on a free from Brighton where he was released, and went on to get 22 goals in 35 games. What an unusual thing to have happened. Bobby Firmino, now at Manchester City, £79 million valuation on him. That is a controversial move for sure, but he got second top scorer with Dominic Calvert-Lewin playing at Crystal Palace. Really interesting how that's worked out. If we actually have a look at the overall goals tally here, you can see some other odd results. John Mlaka, not heard of him, signed on a free from NK Maribor. I don't know if that's a pre-existing transfer. Who else we got in here? Chi Adams, currently at Everton, signed from Southampton on a free. Juan Hernandez for Bournemouth in 7th place, on loan from Barcelona. Great loan signing. And then quite a few other surprising names down here. Carlton Morris, now at Wolves, formerly of Norwich, made the move across. So some interesting results there. But you can see Man City dominating a lot of these positions. So let's jump in. We'll start with Arsenal, beginning alphabetically, and look at their transfer history. And you can see the players that they brought in here. We're just looking for the big names, really, and trying to get a feel for who they've actually brought in. And it's not a very good list, this. You've got Rafa Mears, not too bad. Sheyi Ojo, I guess, as a wonder kid. And then they have spent a bit of money trying to bring some other players in, but I feel like that's a wrong approach when an entire league has let their players go on a free. Some players going out, but nobody of any great note that wasn't a pre-existing transfer. So Arsenal just doing very little transfer activity. Aston Villa, though, also signing quite a few unknown players. People coming in on free, signing from other teams. But they seem to have not signed anybody on a free transfer that really would make a huge impact for them. Plenty of players going out. Bournemouth up next obviously did very well. Who've they managed to pick up? Max Aarons, Tyrone Mears, Ricky Holmes, James Collins. And then obviously Juan Hernandez on loan was a really big one. Adora Bioyo coming in, but they're paid for these players. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see where some of these big players have gone if they're not being picked up by these sort of teams. Brighton, again, just not a brilliant season of transfer activity, that one. Burnley next obviously did very, very well. So who've they picked up? I mean, again, look, these aren't the free transfers. So when we go further down, Matty Longstaff, they've picked up the absolute wonder kid there. Chong from United, another great wonder kid. Carter Vickers, Metham, Hennessy's. It's quite a solid one, and they've picked up quite a lot of players. And in the first season, that's really the key. Damari Gray, Target, Dummett, they're picking up decent, well-rounded players. But it's not necessarily the players themselves that got them where they are. It's the number of them and the ability to stage a full-strength squad. Chelsea, obviously, under embargo, aren't allowed to sign players on a free transfer. I was wrong. I think I'm thinking about when you're under administration. They're under a full-on embargo and can't bring anybody in. And that is why they've been hammered. £86 million Eden Hazard going. But quite a few other players leaving on free transfers as well. So they've only got weaker as the year went on. Palace obviously did very well. They picked up a few wonder kids. Ampadu and Saka, very good ones. Calvert-Lewin, who obviously did really well for them. Benkovic, Harry Wilson, Reece James. They've really gone for the absolute wonder kids here. Not the top tier ones necessarily, but a lot of very good future Premier League players. And the old wonder kid, Matthias Kranevitter from Zenit. The number of times I signed him way back a few years ago. Everton, again, Hamza Chowdhury. Good wonder kid, but not. That's a dreadful transfer list, unless that's the actual Luis Suarez, which it is not. That is a terrible, terrible spree of free signings. Who else we got here for Leicester? Sean Longstaff, the other Longstaff, picked up. Ryan Brewster, quite a good one. Lewis Cook, very solid player in Football Manager. Sarr, Dallo, Jota, Pulisic, big name. Marcus Rashford on a free. This is why they finished second. They've gone all out, bringing in these players. Huge names in here as well for a team like Leicester. I mean, he's on only 97 grand a week for Marcus Rashford. Pulisic, 88 grand a week. How have they got him on a free that cheap? Surely someone else could have offered a good wage there. But they've done the best business by far. There's no doubt about that so far. Liverpool up next. Who have they gone for? I think that their transfer philosophy is going to be an interesting one here. And you can see they've not gone for the big names. I don't know what kind of philosophy this is. I wouldn't even say this is going for the wonder kids. This is just weird. They've not signed anybody of any real note there. Nick Pope maybe, but other than that, Solly March, I mean, that's terrible business. No wonder they finished in 7th place. And then we get to the big beasts, Manchester City. Now, they really did go all out. David De Gea, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Virgil van Dijk. They have raided Liverpool and United. Fabinho, Yuri Tielemans, Firmino also coming across. Oxlade-Chamberlain. They've basically taken the entire Liverpool team. Wijnaldum as well. Schmeichel, Ruben Neves, Vertonghen, Aubameyang, Digne, Kovacic, Harry Maguire, Dele Alli in there. And then they also paid 106 million for Paulo Dybala. Everton, the wonder kid from Gramao as well. They really have done sensational business there. And even Morgan Rogers, who becomes an absolute wonder kid in the future of this game as well. They really have done a great job bringing in a well-rounded top-tier team to go straight back to the summit of English football. Manchester United doing things very differently. Clearly going for young players, not bringing in anybody established with Ollie at the wheel. Newcastle, I mean, what even is that? That is weird. That's typical Newcastle, but they managed to get 8th place. It's not too bad. Norwich, again, you know, they're just not using the free transfers they could have done to really strengthen their team, and I think that'll be true for Sheffield United as well, who've picked up quite random players. Obviously, reputation of the club has a huge impact when we're trying to sign free transfers. People want to go to good teams. If you're not in that elite tier, it is hard without paying a huge amount of money to bring these players in. You can see Southampton has struggled with that. Spurs should have been able to do better, but again, their philosophy may have got in the way for this experiment. They've gone for the young English players, not necessarily big names. Watford got relegated, and again, they're spending money on players they don't need to be spending money on. They can get them all for free. West Ham getting to the bottom of this list now. I mean, again, I really do think this new philosophy that they have, the club philosophy, is going to have a really weird effect. Luke Garbett signed by Wolves. Still signing players for a bit of money though. And then we're back round to Arsenal. So a little bit odd that it's only really Man City that have actually taken this seriously and brought in the kind of players that they needed to. What everybody else has been doing, I have no idea. So now we need to try and think of the names of the big players that will have left. So obviously Mo Salah, he is now at PSG. I imagine that PSG absolutely feasted on these players. If we look at PSG's transfer information here, transfer history, you can see Laporte, Pedro, Kyle Walker, Kante, Zaha, Emerson, Robertson, Bakayoko, Rodri and Salah. They have totally gorged out on some of the best Premier League players here. N'Golo Kante and Mo Salah in particular being picked up by PSG, completely running away with that. Really strengthening their team very, very well. Who else have we got? De Bruyne. Where has De Bruyne ended up? He's gone to Real Madrid. Maybe not a surprise in that one. If we have a look at Real Madrid, I'm sure they have picked up quite a few players from the Premier League. Harry Kane, De Bruyne, Sterling, Sane, David Luiz and Ederson as well. They've picked up some very good additions. I imagine that Barcelona will have done the same. If we have a look. Who else? I mean, they picked up just Son, really. Christensen and Juan Hernandez as well. And Louis Barry from West Brom. He's valued at 400k. What an odd little signing for the La Masia Academy, I imagine. But they've not done anywhere near as much business as other teams have. You've got Bayern Munich in here. They may well have picked up some good players. Lindelof, Wan-Bissaka, Pepe, Dyer, Abraham and Gundogan. Not a bad list there. It's really hard, though, to keep track of where some of these big players would have gone. I guess we can also look at maybe Atletico Madrid. They may have picked up some big names. Not really. Patrick Cutrone, Lallana and Soyuncu, obviously a very good centre-back there. Who else did they get on a free there? Hector Herrera, not a Premier League player. What other leagues have we got? French League, German League, Italian League, I guess. Juventus may have picked up quite a... Oh, they're not called Juventus. I don't know why this name fix keeps changing. If we go for the Zebra. Oh, it's Zebri, isn't it? Not Zebra. There we go. Transfer history for them. Who have we got here? Ben Chilwell, David Silva, Bernardo Silva. The two Silvers. Jamie Vardy as well. If we look at the Serie A transfers, can we look at the Serie A transfers? Apparently not. We can have a look at AC Milan though. They may have picked up some players. I don't know why that's not working. There we go. Just why did that not come up as AC Milan? Anyway, AC Milan here. If we look at their transfer history, they have picked up a few, but again, not the huge names. I mean, Juan Mata joining them. So a little bit unusual the way these players have been dispersed around. One thing we can do is if we do a new search based on transfer status or contract status as expired and add the condition of international caps with at least, let's go with at least 10, sorted by potential ability. Who have we got? Michael Essien. Eric Bailly still not got a club. Klein doesn't have a club. But most players, most of the big players at least, have already been picked up by other teams. There's actually very few players left there. We can actually just get rid of that and look at the players without a contract. But again, it looks like most of the big players have now been picked up. There are very few left. So where they've all gone is another question. They're clearly not back in the Premier League with another team. They must have gone somewhere else. Maybe the Championship have done quite well out of this. We can go back and have a look at the Premier League and see. If we look at the transfers here, we don't want to look at the fee-paying ones. If we go to the free ones, which we can't do, just scroll down to the free transfers. And we can look at some. The trouble is, because they're released on a free, they're just free transfer to clubs. So we just have to look out for any big names that might appear. I'm sure you guys will be able to spot them as well, looking through this video when I miss them. But a lot of them I think we've already seen. I can't think of any other huge names that I'm missing out on here. You've got Aubameyang there. We can maybe have a look at where Lacazette went. I'm just trying to think of the big... He's at Lazio now. That's a really interesting move. The big Arsenal players, we can have a look at Mesut Ozil. Gone to China. I imagine quite a few players have gone to China. That's actually a really good reason why maybe we haven't seen where these players have gone. You can see this club alone picking up Aguero, Ozil, Kolasinac, Fred and Willian. Shanghai, who've they managed to get? Felipe Anderson, Lovren, Sadio Mane's gone there. Willy Bolly's there. China Fortune. Oh, they've not picked anybody up. And then Guangzhou as well. Also not picked anybody up. So they will be spread around a little bit. I don't have all these leagues loaded, which is a little bit annoying for being able to easily track them. But you can see even here with Beijing, they've got Mahrez, Alderweireld and Socrates in the team. So the players have absolutely exploded all over the world as a result of being released, and they've just not gone back to the Premier League. If we do have a look at the squads of some of these teams, i.e. Manchester City, obviously incredible. If you were managing this team, you would be extremely happy. It's even reasonably well balanced. They've got Matip in there as well. Alex Teller's joined. A good, solid centre to midfield. Plenty of decent attack midfielders. Dwight McNeil, worth 45 million to be fair. Joining from Burnley. He's done all right. Firmino and Aubameyang with Dybala and Ali up there as well in support. It's just sensational, this team. Absolutely brilliant. If we drop down to Manchester United, maybe nowhere near the same level. I mean, even just looking at the value of this team, you've got Fabio Silva in there, but then it starts to drop off an absolute cliff. United paying huge wages for players that are not that great here. David Button on £180,000 a week. Signed on a free from Brighton. £180,000 a week. Alexander Callens. What is that? Joined from the MLS, has a 6.87 rating and only played 14 games. He's on 185. John Swift. Who on earth is John Swift? Joined from Reading for 3.9 million. Why are they signing players for 3.9 million from Reading and paying them 180 grand a week? I mean, this is... wow. This is so bad. When you compare this, the wages being paid here are quite similar to the wages being paid by Man City. Now, why on earth are they paying J. Emmanuel Thomas that much money? Signed on a free from Thailand. And he's on £180,000 a week. That is the most ludicrous thing I've ever seen in this game. J. Emmanuel Thomas, signed by United on a free and given £180,000 a week. Tudor Baluta. Where's he from? This has actually made my day. This is hilarious. What on earth are they doing? Andy Yiadom, another Reading graduate, getting paid an absolute fortune. Morgan Gibbs-White, wasn't it Wolves yet? But still being paid way over the odds. Ogbonna in there, at least a recognisable name. Dujon Sterling. He's on only 40 grand a week, to be fair, having signed from Chelsea on a free. But that has made my day. J. Emmanuel Thomas on 180 grand a week. I can't believe he's only 29. What a journeyman career to end up back from Arsenal, going back into the Premier League with United, getting paid that kind of silly money, having dropped down as far as League One with Bristol City, and then going to Thailand. Wow. Why is that league even loaded up in this game? I don't have all the big European leagues, and yet the Thai league still has everybody in it. Unbelievable stuff. I cannot get over that. Newcastle, wages much more sensible, as you'd expect. I really thought that was Kevin Phillips for a minute. Norwich, again, reasonably acceptable. No ridiculous wages. I guess the teams we're really interested in are the big ones. So if we look at Spurs, they're not going... I was going to say they're not going mad, but then Louis Thompson's on 200 grand a week, having joined on a free from Norwich. So maybe they are going a little bit mad. I can only assume this is a result of some sort of weird bidding war. Malaka here joining on a free from Brighton, not Maribor. Tashan Oakley Booth on 115 grand a week. Where's he come from? He's been in there from the start, so he's an academy graduate that they've boosted up, but he only has a potential ability of 117, so probably not the greatest thing there. Taya Joma, also another graduate. Spurs doing well, promoting their graduates, giving them a bit of cash. I don't mind that so much. Let's drop down. Who else do we have here? Wolves, Bournemouth, Arsenal. Actually, very sensible wage policy from Arsenal. They've just got no value in the team. And then, what does the Chelsea squad look like now? I mean, Richard Narty has managed to get himself 125 grand a week, even though he hasn't played and was on loan at Burton. That's, again, quite an odd decision. The rest of their team doesn't really have an awful lot of value in it. £4.4 million, Billy Gilmore, and other teams want to sign him now they've been relegated. And if you look at the goals this season, they're not coming easily. Iko Ugbo now on loan at Roda. Why have they loaned out their... Oh no, he's just on loan. Yeah. I don't think Chelsea are going to do particularly well in this series, if I'm being honest. But I think that'll probably be it for today's episode. We've had a very in-depth look today. That was always the idea of this first one. I know some of you guys do like looking in detail at this stuff. Next time we'll go through it much more quickly. We won't be as focused on the transfers. The transfers have happened now, the free transfers, as we saw. Very few players left as free agents. So what we'll do now is just look at how this league rebalances, how Crystal Palace do in the Champions League next year, if Liverpool manage to recover, and if Chelsea happen to get relegated a second time, or if they do manage to come back straight into the Premier League and maybe go up the table. And I imagine City are about to go on a huge period of dominance in the Premier League. But do let me know in the comments if there's something you want to see that I haven't shown you in this episode. I'll try and get into the next episode or the one after that. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see the next part that comes out tomorrow. And do drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it. But until next time, see ya.